we can exclude the unwanted files in Git, right? So we will see if we have a Git repository and suppose we have some files which we don't want to include in our Git project, then how can we exclude these files, right? So first we will see all the hidden files in our Git repo. So I'll go to my project. Okay, here is my project and here we are working on the start.web. Okay, I will open up my terminal over here and suppose we want to list out all the files which are present in this particular repository. So what is the command for this? So we will use ls-al. -al means list all, right? Once I execute, you can see over here I'm getting all the files. The files like .git and .htaccess is also here. Dot means these files are hidden. So if you search these files over here, then these files are not visible on the file manager, right? These files are hidden. htaccess is not here and .git is not here, right? So now suppose we have a file over here, like we are creating a file like touch and say we are creating a file test file.txt, right? So you can say the file is present over here. Now test file.txt is over here, right? Now what I don't want to include that particular file in my project. Okay, I don't want to include that particular file in my project. I want this file should be excluded from my project, right? Now what can I do? What can I do to avoid these kind of files to commit in my project? Okay, so for this I need to create a hidden directory in my Git project which is called git ignore, right? I need to create a hidden directory in my project which is create git ignore, right? Sorry, I need to create a hidden file which is called git ignore. So I will use sublime then dot git ignore, right? Over here I have created the git ignore file. Now let me allow to explain what is the basic structure of the git ignore file. Okay, so git ignore file patterns are like this. If you want to specify any file over here, then it will exclude that file at runtime, right? Suppose I have created the test file.txt. Now let me make it clear and execute the command git status. Git status. Say it is saying git test file .txt is basically present over here. Now suppose this is a file, and after that you can basically, once you will add all the files, then you need to, if you want to avoid this file, then you need to basically check out that file, right? You need to make that file and add that file in the exclusion, right? Now what I need to do, suppose if I want to avoid some files every time when I will add all the files recursively, then what I need to do, I need to basically add these files in my git ignore repository, right? So sublime dot git ignore. Uh-oh, not ignore, it's git ignore, and I need to mention that file over here, and please be specific with the name. Okay, the name should be correct. Okay, just save the window, close the git ignore and close your sublime text editor, right? Execute the command git status, or before status execute the command ls-al, and you can see the git ignore is basically added over here, right? Git ignore is basically added over here. Now I will clear my console and execute the command git status. Now see, it is saying the git ignore is being added and it has removed that file which I mentioned in the git ignore, right? It has removed that file which I mentioned in the git ignore. You can see over here. Now what I need to do, I need to basically add this git ignore. So I add git dot git ignore and commit git name it will open up the text editor and say adding git ignore to exclude the unwanted files, right? I will close this, close the file and close the terminal, right? And I have my commit is being done, right? Now if I will execute git status, then see my directory is basically clean, my working directory is basically clean, but I have that file present over here and this file is still not committed, right? This file is still not committed and this file is present over here. Now suppose I do some things. Suppose here is a you can see here is an HTML index file. Okay, I will open it. Then you can see this is saying hello world and project name and all, right? This is the HTML file, right? What I do basically, suppose this file is basically being accessed from the Apache server, right? And what I do, I create some log files over here. Okay, I create some log files over here. Okay, so I create some log files over here like access log. Okay, and here I mentioned some log files like status 200 HTTP access 200 MK TSP 300, and suppose we are getting some dummy log over here or some log which is being generated from your Apache server is being generated over here, right? I simply close it, okay, and close the terminal. Now suppose if I will execute the ls, then it will say the access log is being present over here, right? This file is being present over here, right? I will execute the command git status and it can see the access log is being untracked. Okay, the access log is being untracked. Now what I want to avoid all logs file from my project, okay, from my git repo. Then how can I remove all the log files? Okay, suppose I create another log file and say sublime say error.log. Right, and error in the error.log I mentioned some error like authentic error response code is 400 and say not able to connect to server, and say some more errors like stale element reference and suppose array out of bound index, and we are getting n number of logs over here, right? We are getting n number of logs over here. Now completely save it, close it and close the terminal, right? Now if I will execute git status, it simply mentioned there is two files which is untracked. Now what I want to avoid all logs files is committed in my git repo. Then how can I do it? I will open my git ignore, right, and add the pattern over here like asterisk dot log. It means avoid all files which have .log extension, right? I simply save it, close it, close the terminal, right? Execute the command git status, and you can see it is saying just a one modification which is in git ignore. It is not accessing or it is not providing you the modified files or the edit files access log and error log, right? I simply do the same thing, git add -am message edit login git ignore uh, right. Now I have added that. So git status, see I am on working directory. So guys, this is the way and this is the pattern. If suppose you want to add a folder, a complete directory in your ignore file, you want to ignore all the files which is present in a complete directory, then you can mention the folder and a slash after that, okay, in your git ignore file. So git will ignore all the files which is present in that particular directory, right? So this is the way how basically we can ignore the files and unwanted files from a git repository. So thank you guys, thanks for